on this flaming hot episode of Mythbusters.
Feel like a space pirate.
Brian and John test two tall tales of bows and arrows.
Ha!
First up, a fiery fable.
We know that a car can burst into flames. 3. But the question is, 2. Can a single fire arrow 1 cause that burn? Oh yeah, it's on fire. Oh! Direct hit.
And then,
Doink.
a supposedly death-defying rite of passage.
Ooh, nice.
If you fire an arrow straight up,
I found it.
are you in mortal danger?
If it penetrates this much, we're gonna call it lethal. Ooh.
How do you make an arrow even deadlier? Light it on fire. A recent pizza ad suggests a direct hit from a crossbow to a car's gas tank will result in an instant inferno. But when the Mythbusters take aim at this incendiary claim, will it crash and burn or fly straight and true?
So, this, plus that, sounds pretty Mythbusters.
Right? Catastrophically burning gas tanks and fire arrows? I love this job.
So with all the movies that are out, it makes it seem like even if you look at a car weird, it will burst into flames. But is it really that easy?
And do gas tanks even go up like they show on TV?
That's probably where we should start. Try to ignite gas inside a gas tank, and besides, fire!
Brian and John will investigate if it's possible for a flaming arrow to both puncture a car's gas tank
Ooh, bullseye!
and stay lit during flight. But first, they're kicking off with a small-scale test. What would it take for a gas tank to go up in a Hollywood-style fireball?
A small-scale, see-through gas tank. We put some gasoline in this, introduce a spark, and see what happens. I've been working on the ignition source. Never wired a stun gun to anything before. Hey, John!
I will duct tape that thing to your face.
Lightning in a bottle. All right, one mini gas tank.
I'm getting your gas set up right here.
Excellent.
As long as I get more in this little Erlenmeyer flask than I do on the table.
I think I'm gonna choose self-service next time.
Done. You know what? Everyone always assumes the more gas there is, the bigger the boom. Let's just start there. Maybe almost to the top, right under the electrodes.
Sounds good to me.
With the gas tank wired for stun gun ignition, this small-scale test is sure to be shocking.
Let's get out of here.
But will there be fire? The high-speed camera is rigged to catch the action once the guys trigger the stun gun from behind the blast shields.
All right, mini gas tank literally full of gas. Fire test in 3, 2, 1.
Well, spark worked fine. You almost see like little ripples on the gas.
Yeah, but I think at this point we just don't have the right air-to-fuel mixture. Here's some simple geometry. The fire triangle. The 3 components you need for every fire. Now, the reason our gas tank didn't catch on flames is because we had plenty of fuel and plenty of heat, but not enough oxygen. So for our next test, we'll drop it to, let's say, a quarter tank and see what happens.
With less fuel in the tank, there's more space for oxygen.
That's about right.
Yes?
But will less fuel and just a little more oxygen produce a flaming hot result?
Okay. Ready, Brian?
Ready.
Mini gas tank, quarter full, flammability test in 3, 2, 1.
Nothing. We did our test with our quarter full tank of gasoline and still had no reaction. But remember, this myth is about arrows penetrating the gas tank. I'm gonna drill a couple holes in this tank. It's gonna let in a little more oxygen, and we'll see what happens. All right.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hey!
There you go.
There it is.
Successful ignition. But the flames were short-lived, burning out in a split second.
We got fire, just not that Hollywood burn.
The flame consumed all the oxygen inside the gas tank and it put itself out. But this myth does call for someone shooting arrows into a gas tank, which would probably lead to some, spillage. And that exposes the gasoline to as much oxygen as it needs to combust. Add a fire arrow to that and,
That's a car on fire.
So the small-scale tests show this myth is only plausible if a flaming arrow ruptures the gas tank, causing fuel to spill out. If the gas remains in the tank, there'll be no fireball.
aw, am I the only one in this cloud? Blah.
Amateur.
There's good news and bad news. The good news is gasoline burns way better when it's outside of the car. The bad news is we don't even know if an arrow can penetrate the side and go into the gas tank. So that's our next step.
But before the guys get gung-ho with a fiery crossbow, cue arrow-themed myth number 2. It originates from a supposedly death-defying South American tribal initiation. The ceremony demands new recruits fire a bow vertically upwards and remain rooted to the spot as the arrow plummets back to earth. But are initiates actually risking their life, or is a falling arrow less than lethal? The Mythbusters aim to get to the pointy end. Ouch!
So this myth definitely falls under the do not try at home.
Yeah, this is one initiation I'd be ducking out on. I value my eyes.
Yeah, but it's pretty unlikely you'd be hit by a falling arrow. But what I want to know is if you're that unlucky dude, does a falling arrow have enough force to actually kill you?
We could go Dr. Frankenstein on this and build a human analog head. That way we can fire an arrow straight into it.
Yeah, but before we can mimic the force of a plummeting arrow, we need to see how fast they actually fall out of the sky.
This is Rabbit Dry Lake Bed, and this vast nothingness is what you need when you're firing arrows up and tracking them coming down.
Before going vertical, the guys will get some tips on plain old horizontal bowmanship from champion archer and certified instructor George Ellison.
Just simply pull it on back. You look down the string at the tip of the arrow, and that's how it's done. Right about there.
Oh, I actually realized I'm holding it too high. There we go. All right, that one didn't go past the line.
We'll give you a mulligan, John.
But eventually, George's instruction pays off.
Ooh, that's a hit.
Good job. There you go. Good job.
And after a bit more practice,
Beautiful shot. Beautiful shot.
Thank you.
now that they can handle a bow, it's testing time. And the data they need is speed. The plan is to fire an arrow directly up and then measure its impact velocity when it hits the ground. To do this, the arrow must land in the target zone of a high-speed scale.
It's about 7.5 to this one.
Before they set up for real, the guys lay out a mock target zone, gauge the sweet desert breeze,
I could stand here all day.
and have a practice run.
Hey, looks like a square.
I'm gonna be the first one to fire this arrow straight into the air. And if everything works out, it should land somewhere in these 4 boxes. But don't worry, as soon as I fire it, I'm gonna run in the bunker, because this is definitely not my bravery test. Okay, arrow straight up test, and then run and hide. In 3, 2, 1. Go in, go in.
Ooh, I
Where is
see
it?
it. It's right
It's
there.
coming down.
Not far from target.
That's not bad. Firing an arrow straight up into the air is pretty nerve-wracking, because the whole myth is whether an arrow falling from the sky can kill you. Now, wait a second. How is it?
Not on target.
And also, it's not particularly accurate.
In fact, it appears the guys have set themselves a task even an expert archer would find close to impossible. Every arrow they test fire lands outside the target zone. So they'll need a more accurate means of arrow delivery if they're going to successfully measure impact velocity.
Good penetration, straight down, but No accuracy anywhere.
Yeah, we definitely need some kind of mechanical assistance.
I'm in.
Coming up,
Search and destroy tiny robot.
say hello to the mechanical assistants.
Oh, it's burning a hole in the thing.
A laser-toting drone.
Holy though, it set that thing on fire.
And the guys test the gas tank piercing punch of a high-powered crossbow.
Oh, bullseye!
Brian and John are investigating if an infamous tribal initiation ceremony truly is a dance with death, or merely a flirtation with a flesh wound.
Okay,
Their first step is to measure the maximum impact velocity of a falling arrow. Problem is,
Not far from target. Still not quite on target. Not on target.
not a single arrow landed within the target zone they must hit to get a speed reading.
turns out firing arrows straight up into the air is, harder than it looks. And that's why we have this new toy. Search and destroy tiny robot. Whoa, 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 whoa. No, not cool.
But before they can take aim with the drone, they need to determine the correct height to drop the arrow from.
This rig's designed to steady the bow. That's gonna allow the arrow to go up as far as possible, because the higher it goes up, the faster it's gonna come down.
This is a pico altimeter. It's used in drones and amateur rocketry, and this is gonna tell us how far this goes up in the air. This goes on here.
Vertical arrow with altimeter.
Keep drawing. Yeah. Ooh, nice. That looked like a good one.
I have no idea.
I don't know either. I found it.
And that's what the bunker's for.
Here we go. 232.8 feet.
It's not bad.
But they're not stopping there.
Some people see an arrow. I see data.
The guys each fire off 3 arrows
That's some good acceleration.
and take their highest reading of 300 feet as a fair maximum altitude for the arrow in the mythical initiation. Brian and John's next job is to set up the drop zone. The high-speed camera will record the speed of the falling arrow on impact, as long as they manage to hit the target zone.
Well, that's why we're employing these two drones. That one takes the arrow straight up, and this one hovers right above that one so that it gives us a bird's eye view of the bullseye. Then when we're ready, we drop it, and there you go.
I'm happy.
The drone will position the arrow directly over the target zone.
Then just
Beautiful.
The guy's new toy even has a precision targeting system.
all right, it's on.
Whoa, that is bright. Oh, it's burning a hole in the thing.
It's off.
Holy though, it set that thing on fire.
Yep, that's one tricked-out drone. But will it conjure up a bullseye? It's time for some high-altitude archery.
Copter forward a hair.
I'm getting close to you there, buddy.
You're close. Okay, copter left.
God, was that them touching?
Oh my God.
Shoot, 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 shoot. No, 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 no.
It's a drone disaster zone.
That is not good.
So is the falling arrow myth investigation in a mission-critical tailspin. First, it's back to HQ and the fable of the flaming arrow.
One. We're testing whether a flaming arrow shot into the gas tank of a car will cause that car to erupt in flames. Whew. Now, to give the myth the best chance, we know we need to rupture the gas tank and expose all that fuel to as much oxygen as possible.
That's a car on fire. But if an arrow can't pierce a gas tank, this myth's gonna be the only thing that's a bomb. That's why we're gonna do a series of puncture tests with different arrowheads to determine which one can pierce a gas tank and leave the biggest hole for fuel to flow out of.
What time is it, you ask? It's arrow firing time.
First, the guys line up a vehicle for some medieval modification.
Hey, Brian.
And this schmuck is right out of luck.
Yo, what up, Brian? Whoa.
Looks like my college roommate.
Remember that time you almost got hit crossing the street by someone chasing a yellow? Yeah, you got his arm?
Yeah.
Or that time someone cut you off on the highway and wasn't using their turn signals? It's perfect. Well, that was this guy. Say hello to Jerkbag Buster and his sweet ride that we'll be shooting arrows into.
In the pizza ad from which this myth originates, the flaming arrow is fired from a crossbow. And the Mythbusters' crossbow of choice, well, it ain't short on power.
This is a bow with 45 pounds of draw. It's about what your standard adult male would use. This is a crossbow with 185 pounds of draw. It produces significantly more energy, launching a bolt at 410 feet per second.
So they'll be packing plenty of punch.
Obviously, we can't go through the frame.
But to successfully puncture the gas tank,
That's your target area.
each arrow must also impact with near pinpoint accuracy.
Ta-da!
We get a whole car and give ourselves a target the size of a quarter.
Next, it's over to the Archer's Buffet, where there's a smorgasbord of arrows to choose from.
Pointed tips, cutting tips, broad tips.
All right, so let's say we start with the most basic field tip and work our way up.
This is the hard part of firing a crossbow.
Puncture tests into car and gas tank with field tip in 3, 2, 1. Oh, bullseye!
My biggest concern was that with both the car and the gas tank, the arrow wouldn't make it through. It had no problem making through both. Good start. How's the hole look?
Pretty clean.
Yeah, but nowhere for anything to flow around it. The tip is about the same size as the shaft of the arrow, meaning that when the arrow went through, it plugged its own hole. No room for fuel to flow out.
And as the small-scale test proved, if the fuel stays in the tank, there'll be no fireball, and this myth's as good as busted. But will a gnarlier arrowhead tear a bigger hole?
Next up,
It's a field tip with an accessory cutter.
it's real fancy. In 3, 2, 1. Ooh, that's nice.
The arrow's in the tank.
Yeah, but the tip is on the ground.
Oh, that's not good.
Our test with the field tip and serrated accessory, it got really good penetration. But when it hit the gas tank, the tip broke off. So it didn't give us quite the hole in the gas tank we were looking for.
In fact, the 3-blade cutter tip and the 4-blade cutter tip produce similar results. Both puncture the car and rupture the gas tank with ease, but only leave a small hole.
There's nothing that's like plowed open.
That's disappointing.
So next up, the guys try something different.
This one seems like a special tip.
The blunt force of a decocking bolt.
Here it comes.
It's not designed or balanced for target shooting. But will a heavier arrow punch a gas-spewing hole?
All right, Buster, look out. This one's pretty messed up. Okay, penetration test into gas tank with decocking bolt tip in 3, 2, 1. And that's why we have blast shields.
There's your arrow.
The replay reveals the decocking bolt failed to pierce the car's body.
It literally smashed the quarter panel and then bounced all the way back at us.
So after test firing all but one of the arrows,
It's like pulling out a wet noodle, John.
the results have been a little limp.
Ooh.
If Buster's ride's ever going to get deep fried, they need to punch a bigger hole in the gas tank.
Oh, you got something in your teeth, man. There you go.
It's down to the last arrow.
This one's really sturdy.
Yeah, let's do it.
Penetration test into gas tank with broadhead arrow in 3, 2, 1. Dude, this is one of our better holes.
Ooh.
It's not just a point, it is an ellipse. So we'll probably get a lot of air traveling through the rest of the shaft, letting the gas out.
That's what we need.
Think we might be able to do better?
Oh, we can do better.
Now that we've done the penetration test, we know that none of those arrowheads really give us that hole we're looking for that lets a lot of gas out at once. So my job is to create the ultimate arrowhead that lets more gas out without compromising the arrow itself or its trajectory. Ta-da! This is the fuller, AKA the gap, that'll help gas flow out of the gas tank after it pierces it. But the question now is, does this big chunk of steel change the arrow trajectory, and does this pass through all the side paneling into the gas tank like the unmodified arrows? There's only one way to find out. Safety's off. Firing in 3, 2, 1. Okay. I don't see an arrow in the quarter panel. I don't see an arrow anywhere. Well, it's not in me, that's good. Well, there's one piece of arrow and, hey! The other piece of arrow. All right, let's look at the high speed, see what happened. Okay, so the arrow is coming into frame. Oh, what? Come on!
The super slow motion replay reveals an odd dynamic phenomenon.
The archer's paradox is when the arrow kind of does that bendy movement as it flies through the air.
All arrows flex in flight like this to a degree, but John's modified arrow does so far more violently.
From the high speed, it looks like it goes, oh, blah, 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 and then bends under the car and then keeps going straight. Also, I think there's a bit of a tip in it because of the extra weight, so I'll have to find a way to balance out the back of the arrow.
So much for the ultimate arrow. Time to redesign the redesign.
Okay, this is our new and improved arrow. I mean, it looks the same, but I've put counterweights in the back so that it balances where it should. So when we shoot it, it should travel perfectly straight instead of going. Firing in 3, 2, 1. Oh, yeah. Yeah. After all of our modifications to this arrow, we got good flight trajectory, so I'm super happy. What kind of penetration did we get? Woo! Well, it looks like the arrow got real good penetration all the way through to the gas tank.
And unlike the hole plugging off-the-shelf arrows, scoring a direct hit with John's custom build should mean gas pours out through the grooves.
You know what I'm picturing, John?
What?
A car in flames.
The next step is looking at, well, the fire part, or the fire arrow. So we'll test different accelerants and see which one works best. Holy moly!
Still to come.
Here's the arrow, and we forgot to move the fire.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Pretty good!
And the guys finally crack the tribal initiation myth.
God, was that them touching?
Oh my God.
Shoot, 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 shoot. No, 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 no.
John and Brian are investigating if an arrow fired straight up could be lethal on its way back down.
All right, coming into land.
They're attempting to measure the impact velocity of a falling arrow.
Kill it!
But their first shot at dropping one into the target zone ended with an RIP drone, resting in pieces.
Oh, no.
That is not good.
Oh, man. Little drone. You were still so new. The camera assembly.
That did not take it well at all.
But a quick dispatch from HQ and a brand new drone is ready to roll. Brian and John need to get two things just right for this test to succeed. First, the arrow must be dropped from the correct maximum altitude, 300 feet.
So I'm at altitude, Brian. You coming up?
The arrow must also hit the high-speed scale's target zone so they can calculate its speed on impact.
Copter right. Copter right.
Copter right.
And cut a little more. A little more forward, tiny bit forward. Release.
Release!
Get back. Hoo-ah! Ooh, it clipped the edge of the scale and still managed to punch into the ground.
But you know what's the most important?
What?
It's right in front of the high-speed scale.
Bullseye. But before they crunch the numbers from the speed scale,
All right, dropping in 3, 2, 1. Arrow away.
the guys drop a couple more arrows so they can calculate an average speed.
Beautiful.
I feel like we know what we're doing now. Time to look at the data.
Perfect.
That is a solid hit.
All right, let's see if we can get some speed off of this stuff.
By measuring the time it takes for the arrow to cross the 4-foot-tall high-speed scale, the guys can extrapolate its speed on impact.
Our high speed gave us 3 different speeds for our arrows: 88 miles per hour, 110 miles per hour, and 116 miles per hour. It's just like it's raining arrows.
Very slowly, one at a time.
There's some variance from winds and other factors, but we're gonna take an average, use 105 miles per hour, and that's the target we're gonna look for.
All right, we got our arrow speed. Now back to the shop.
All right.
So they have their magic number. 105 miles per hour is the impact velocity of the falling arrow in the myth. Question is, would that be lethal? To find out, Brian must first work out how to fire an arrow horizontally at exactly this speed.
This may look like some sort of weird technological kite, but it's what's called a chronograph. And what it does is time something between here and here. And since you know the distance, you can figure out how fast it's going. 84, 107, 131.
The chronograph only reads in feet per second.
137.
So Brian needs to register a reading of 154 feet per second to match the arrow's 105 mile per hour impact velocity.
The speeds of the arrows have been a little bit, well, a bit like my accuracy, all over the place. We need that 154 feet per second or 105 miles per hour. So I think I'm gonna go build a rig that I can dial that speed right in.
Meanwhile, John's prepping for surgery.
Is it gonna hurt, John? You can't feel pain. Before we shoot this guy in the head with an arrow, I'm gonna put some meat on his bones. He's made of a polymer and wood fiber composite that accurately represents the strength of a human skull. Look at this handsome guy. Model him after me. Now for la pièce de résistance, I'm gonna put skin on him. I think I only got 8 minutes before it sets, so I gotta work fast. Ooh, there we go. This is definitely how you perform eye surgery. And then for real authenticity, glow-in-the-dark eyeballs. This isn't creepy at all. Which one's the real John? No one can tell. It's perfect. All right, I'm out. You take over.
But John doesn't get to scrub out just yet, because his new doppelganger's missing one vital ingredient: analog blood, which will be pressurized to match human circulation.
How are the heads coming along?
Great, I think we're ready. You ready, man? No! No, we're good.
Let's go shoot some arrows into some heads. We need to get 105 miles per hour out of our arrow every time to test this myth.
Okay, you're at 5.
That means we need to determine exactly how far back we need to draw on our bow to get that speed. 203, we gotta go a little less.
Okay.
We'll be using this as a tape measure.
Keep going. 4, 5.
Determine what point gives us that, and then we can repeat it every time we draw.
You're at the end of your 7.5. 7, that's it. There you go.
158.
Yeah?
154 is what we needed.
Ooh, nice.
So 7 3/4.
Sweet spot. Solid.
And give them some blood pressure.
Ooh, yeah.
Locked.
Is that enough pressure?
Yeah, that's about 5 to 10 PSI.
With the bow rig calibrated and the analog skull locked in place, the stage is set for a worst-case scenario tribal initiation. But will it prove that those who endure this chilling ritual for real actually do brave death?
All right, Brian, you ready?
Yeah, ready.
Okay, falling arrow lethality test.
All right, here we go.
4, 5, 6. You're at 7. Good, 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 good. Whenever you're good to fire. I feel bad. I shouldn't be laughing. Oh! Ooh!
A glancing deflection sent the arrow through the forehead and eye socket.
I don't know if he's dead, but he's blind.
Yep, as horrific as the wound is, it's not definitively lethal. But would a direct hit have fatal skull-penetrating power? There's only one way to find out.
All right, let's pull it out and do it again.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, falling arrow lethality test on Brian's mark. All right, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're right at 7. Ooh.
And that's what we're looking for.
This time, the arrow squarely impacts the skull with bone-shattering effect.
Oh! Yeah, he did.
That's not good.
Look at this. Well, let's see what happened to the skull.
Yeah, I want to know.
Trust me, I'm a trained professional. You ready?
Well, okay, John's clearly not. But Brian's a trained emergency medic.
It's a bit like a bullet wound to the head.
It's not just a hole, it shattered the skull.
The second arrow inflicted such a gruesome wound, there's little doubt over the verdict of this myth.
Where'd we land on this one?
Well, if you fire an arrow straight into the air, odds that it'll hit you, not so much. But if it does hit you,
You dead.
yep, confirmed.
Dead right.
But you still gotta be pretty brave to stand underneath an arrow.
Yeah.
Seems like it's not...
Bubba.
Still to come.
Feel like a space pirate.
John gets suited up for a red-hot date
Firing in 3, 2, 1.
with a flaming arrow.
Holy moly.
That's a car on fire.
Brian and John are testing if it's possible to set a car ablaze with a flaming arrow. They found the right arrow to puncture the fuel tank and allow the gas to gush.
Whoa, Buster. It's looking good for us, but not so good for your car.
Now the question is, what sort of flammable material can we actually put on the tip of that arrow that will survive its flight?
We're gonna be shooting fire arrows into flammable targets, so we're gonna need some gas. Does Mel know we're here? No? Oh well. Let's get started. Fresh cup of kerosene.
John and Brian's first test will compare the burn temperatures of different flammable materials. And to do that, they've got a state-of-the-art thermal camera.
Is my deodorant working?
Oh, look at that. You're 102 degrees there, man. You're rocking the Mohawks, though. 112.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Whoa, that's insane.
Oh, it's hot in the Mythbusters kitchen, all right.
Ready?
Ready.
And it's about to get hotter.
Rope soaked with kerosene. Oh, it's on fire. Gasoline soaked rag.
Ooh.
Contact cement. Oh.
So, which combustible course burned best?
The rope soaked with kerosene performed really well. Pretty consistent in terms of temperature and burn.
Good burn time. It really is.
The rope itself absorbed a lot of the fuel, and it gave us a great burn. And plus, in all this wind, the entire thing stayed lit.
Looks way bigger, though. The cloth soaked in gasoline was great. It had a huge flame. Over 1,200. But I'm worried because the cloth itself didn't burn, and I think it's the vapors burning off it, and that might blow out easy.
The contact cement seemed to have a mind of its own. Almost like it's alive. Help me! It's kind of messed up.
But overall, the fire's a lot cooler on this one. 1,100 degrees right now. They're murder giggles, John, and they're worth it.
We got some really good results from our burn test. Each material showed interesting characteristics, but what it all comes down to is how each one performs in flight.
The challenge for our flight test is going to be how to best affix that flammable material to our arrows. We need it to stay lit, stay on the arrow, and have minimal effect on the flight path.
And to test that, John requires a wardrobe upgrade.
Feel like a space pirate.
You're so shiny.
Yeah, let me help you tie some of those intricate knots with my claw hands.
I feel like, just like if I'm right here, the sun, get a nice tan.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
All right, you ready to tie some knots?
Yeah, let's do it.
Tie it off. Get a knot.
Arrowhead sharp.
Is it?
The first flammable material on the fire arrow test slate is rope.
It worked. Not city. Okay, pop it on, our arrow shaft. This looks pretty great. Here we go. Woo!
I'm gonna go soak this in gasoline.
In this test, John's gas tank target isn't real, but a liberal dousing of gasoline means a direct hit should yield a fiery result, so long, that is, as the arrow remains lit.
You ready?
Yeah, man. Do you know how hard it is to fire a crossbow looking through a scope with a fire helmet on?
All right. You completely ready?
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna light you.
Is it on?
Yep, safe.
Safety's off. Oh, wait, did I mention all you can see is flames? Firing in 3, 2, 1. Incoming! Where's the trigger? Oh, here it is. Holy moly. Dude, the fire's out. You think it's getting put out as it's going shrink?
That's what I wonder.
And shawing is indeed the fire-killing culprit.
The arrow just leaves the flames behind.
It's just like, okay, here's the fire arrow. Here's the arrow, and we forgot to move the fire, and the arrow's just gone.
The rope with kerosene looked good, but once it was delivered by the crossbow, the rope itself wasn't burning. All the fuel was burned off it. It's practically useless.
All right, next one. Rag,
Yep.
gasoline.
Yep. I wonder if we need to put something on there to protect it from the wind.
Do we want to do a cone? This seems pretty legit.
Yeah, I'm sure the guy shooting into the gas tank spent like half an hour on each arrow.
He makes them the night before, come on.
Lighting. Safe.
Firing. That ain't a bad hit, but I don't see a fire.
It's clear the cone did little to shield the flame. But although the arrow isn't on fire, it does pin its gas-soaked payload to the target.
At least the cone and the rag stayed on.
Yeah, and the arrow traveled pretty well. Great penetration, but the problem is, we ain't got no fire.
Coming up,
I wonder, John, if it's time for your secret sauce.
the Mythbusters add some spice to their fire arrow ingredients.
So nice.
But will it be a recipe for flight-resistant flames
Fire.
or just a cooked crossbow?
What happened?
John and Brian are on a mission to build the perfect fire arrow,
The problem is, we ain't got no fire.
but have yet to find a recipe for flying flames.
Next flammable material?
I think so.
This time, it's a slathering of contact cement, served flambé.
Safe.
Fire. Well,
There's your fire.
It's a familiar story.
so there's a trail of goop, but the fire's in the same place.
Is this burning or just ribbons of...
I think it's ribbons of goo.
But the testing so far hasn't been a complete failure.
The arrow delivered a small blob of contact cement all the way to the target. But the gas frag did even better. It delivered the entire payload all the way down. So we know we can get fuel down to the target, but the problem now is keeping it all lit. But we're not gonna give up yet.
I wonder, John, if it's time for your secret sauce.
And this stuff is hotter than habanero.
Cannon fuse. Notoriously hard to blow out, and I heard it stays lit when it's submerged in a liquid.
Let's test it. There it goes.
Once ignited, the chemicals the cannon fuse is made from release enough oxygen for combustion, enabling it to stay lit even underwater.
All the way to the end.
So nice.
So in theory, the cannon fuse should also stay lit when attached to a speeding arrow.
We got the most fuel to our target with the gas-soaked rag. So by adding the cannon fuse to the mix, well, that gas tank might just be going up in flames. You good?
Yes, sir.
All right.
But there's only one way to find out if the special sauce will really bring the sizzle.
Lighting.
Tell me when to fire.
Fire.
What happened? Oh, God. The problem with shooting fire arrows is that fire's hot, and it sometimes melts things, like your crossbow.
That looks great, though.
The arrow works, So now we need a plan B. Well, we don't have the crossbow anymore, but we do have this old school bow. It might not be as powerful, but it'll still help us to see if that arrow stays lit after it hits the target.
Right. Safe. Ah!
Brian, are you looking?
Hey, you broke the bow, but you lit the target.
The cannon fuse remains lit in flight, reigniting the gas-soaked rag on impact.
Dude, I think we found our flammable material.
Think so.
We melted a crossbow. I broke a bowstring, but we got a result.
So the guys finally cracked the formula to deliver flames via arrow.
I think we got something.
But will this myth pass its ultimate test?
Woo!
Always love it out here, man.
Yeah, it's a perfect place to set a car on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude, this guy again? And he parked in the only handicap spot in this entire dry lake bed. I really think this guy has it coming. Him and his car.
So they can ignite and fire each arrow from a safe distance, Brian's built something special.
Got the remote crossbow rig ready to go. Remote igniter with a wireless camera to make sure our arrow's actually lit. Remote trigger pull.
All right.
Test in 3, 2, 1. Oh, works.
High five. Oh.
So far, so good. Now all they gotta do is
Add fire.
Oh, dude, this guy again?
can a flaming arrow cause a car to erupt in flames?
I really think this guy has it coming. Him and his car.
The Mythbusters are about to find out.
We have cannon fuse,
Yep.
cloth,
Yep.
more cannon fuse,
Yep.
dunked into gasoline.
I don't think you can go wrong with that.
The arrow's an incendiary cocktail, which should pack a fiery punch if it hits the right spot.
Just one more for insurance.
So, with the final test setup complete, will a well-placed fire arrow result in instant auto inferno?
I'm getting the heck out of here.
Come to safety.
Flaming arrow into gas tank with gas-soaked rag and cannon fuse. In 3, 2, 1. Oh yeah, it's on fire. Oh! Direct hit. I think,
Smoldering, but it didn't go up in flame. That's in the gas tank?
I don't know. All right, you wanna pop that thing and in case you burst into flames, I'll put you out.
All right. You
Here
ready?
we go. How's it look?
Oh, no. I think we're safe. That's a little ways away there.
The arrow failed to penetrate the gas tank.
Our first arrow was delivered perfectly on target with all our flammable material lit, but stopped about 8 inches from the gas tank. We think our flammable material jammed up and kept the arrow from penetrating through.
So this is our simple fix. Looser zip ties means easier sliding. So when it hits the gas tank, whoop, it won't stop the arrow right at the tip. 3, 2, 1.
Well, something went wrong there.
This time, the flammable material was too loose, flying off the arrow prior to impact. But there is some good news.
The gas is leaking, though. The arrow's all the way up to the fletching in the gas tank. Let's patch this and give it another chance.
We're gonna make 2 modifications. The first one is getting that wrap to sit just loose enough so that it'll fly back, but just tight enough so it won't fly off the end. The second one is this. We've embedded some cannon fuse, so even if our first plan doesn't work, hopefully we'll get ignition inside the gas tank. Drink up, thirsty arrow. Okay, in 3, 2, 1. Approach with safety.
Yeah. What happened here? Oh, hit the bumper, fink,
up into the frame.
This time, Mother Nature's to blame. A freak gust of wind knocking the arrow off target.
Ready to try again?
Yeah, let's do it.
But every arrow the guys fire either misfires, breaks on impact, or fails to puncture the gas tank.
It is really hard to shoot a flaming crossbow bolt.
At this point, we've fired quite a few arrows. We've already had an arrow that pierced the gas tank and caused gas to leak out. We've had arrows hit the quarter panel and stay lit. Oh yeah, it's on fire. Oh! But we're not getting these best case scenarios at the same time. I think we combined our best case scenarios to give us the ultimate best case scenario.
What's that?
We unplug the hole in the gas tank caused by the previous arrow, so it's leaking gas. We plug in a fresh fire arrow, and if that doesn't engulf this car in flames, I don't think anything will.
So Brian and John are stretching the bounds of probability on this myth. While testing has shown it's unlikely a fire arrow would both puncture the gas tank and stay lit, there's a slim possibility it could. They'll simulate this improbable sequence of events by rigging a fire arrow in a hole in the gas tank and igniting it remotely.
Sorry, but I think your days are numbered. Okay, here we go. Man-made, ideal situation with leaking gas tank and fire arrow already in gas tank in 3, 2, 1.
There it goes.
It's ignited. That's beautiful. It's still a little bit, I'd say a little bit smaller than the ones you see in movies and TV.
No bonfire.
And even a minute after ignition, there's still no flaming inferno.
This myth called for this giant fireball engulfing the car. Fire's pretty weak, kind of like the myth, underwhelming. So it's been a couple minutes. I think the car's on fire. Last time I watched a movie, when the car exploded, it wasn't like a 8-minute-long scene.
In fact, it takes a full 30 minutes for the blaze to completely swallow the car.
The car's obviously on fire. Everything's on fire.
It's Armageddon, and I love it.
So Buster's recklessly parked ride does end up deep fried. But the myth has gone up in smoke too.
Well, in terms of a single fire arrow causing a car to erupt in flames, I'll have to say busted.
I agree, busted.
You think we should put it out?
Yeah, probably.
I got this. Let's get down there.
I think we need the water truck, John.
Maybe get the water truck!
Water
Maybe
truck.
get the water truck now!